Thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective, the podcast with subject matter experts in marketing. The role of the CMO is constantly changing for those who are still working through digital transformations within their own companies and also within their own self-learning. Stephanie Anderson is the New York City chapter president of the CMO Club and the chief marketing and strategy officer of AI Media Group. And on this episode, we'll discuss technology, the ascension of females into more leadership roles, and the needs for attribution. So let's tune in to a presidential CMO with a presidential shark on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Okay, well, Stephanie, thank you for joining us on A Shark's Perspective today. And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about your background and what it took to get you to where you are today as a CMO.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. And my career is very interesting because I started out actually in sales and ended up in marketing, and now the two are almost inextricably attached. So it's been kind of a good ride. But I started back in the AT&T days when AT&T was the small letters, AT&T, before it went through what it's gone through today. And then I moved into more technology. So I've been in technology pretty much my whole career with Avaya, and then a startup company for a while, and then moved into the cable and telecom industry, where my last job before this was at Time Warner Cable as the SVP and CMO of the business services division. So my career has kind of traversed a lot of technology, communications, and the path, within that was sales, product operations, and marketing has been the last stop.
Talk then a little bit about what it takes to be the chief marketing officer for a technology brand. I mean, your whole company is built around that. That is a little bit different than, working in the cable industry and working in the telecom industry. But what are the differences that you see?
Well, I would say in this particular technology company, while the technology is the star, and for the most part of my career that has always been the case, but when I was marketing in the cable industry and before that, a lot of the issues came from product teams that, of course, their child was the cutest, their baby was the cutest. Sure. And so there was a lot of consternation around who was the leading star of that pack. The difference here is, we really have one star. And, all the underpinnings of that are all captured in one nice technology. And so for the most part, that makes it a lot easier about what to talk about and how to talk about it. But on the negative side of that, we do get caught, just like in every technology company that I've been in. We get caught in the capabilities, not the outcomes, and what that provides for customers at the end of the day. So we get a little bit caught up in the how we do things and what we do, and not the results. And that's always a danger when you're marketing or selling. Too much about yourself, too much about your capabilities. And yes, they're great, but at the end of the day, what's in it for me kind of thing is on the client side. They want to know, what am I getting out of this?
Yeah, so I had a really good conversation not that long ago with a CMO that was talking about taking big companies, working with them through those digital transformations. And a lot of CMOs today don't come with a technology background. Smart people, different backgrounds, but technology is progressing so fast, so quickly. Talk a little bit about what you've seen, maybe through your own career, but the challenges you've seen other CMOs go through.
Yes.
As part of that, learning and comeuppance in digital.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things is my first marketing job was VP of North America marketing at Avaya, and in that role, I would say 80% of that role was really a sales support type of role. So you were so focused on, the account-based management sales, on just getting everything globalized because it was a global company, and getting your materials out in the best manner possible, your website, all of that. So that was kind of the focal point there. Then different jobs involved much more heavy lifting and technology. When I went into the cable industry, there was a tremendous amount of heavy lifting that needed to be done with infrastructure, websites, databases, you name it, we were changing it, going into campaign management, all of those tools that were coming out. Now you're implementing all of that, and that becomes the focus. I think if I was fortunate because I understood technology, and actually it was a huge advantage in some of the, determining factors when it came to call centers or any of that technology. If I would not have been, and for some of my peer group that, kind of came more from the art side than the science side, I think, what they're struggling with right now is, how do I know, who to believe, or how do I know what's possible? And so I think the more you can expose yourself as a CMO to what's possible, you don't really need to know the, nits and gnats necessarily, but if you understand what's possible, then you can, kind of vision out what you need to do for your own company.
So you touched on a really good hot button touch point there with showing your ROI, especially what CMOs have to do today with showing how did campaigns perform. You work in the performance marketing space, basically helping companies, advertisers, and agencies with their performance marketing dollars. Talk a little bit about how you help show a CMO where his dollars have been invested, and really some of the challenges of ones that don't know where to look.
Yeah. I mean, that's been, I think, that whole trend, or it's more than a trend now because it's the lifestyle change.
The way of life, yeah.
We're off the diet, we're on the lifestyle change. But that started in sort of justifying your budget, I think. Back probably 15 years ago, it was, where's the spend going, because you want to keep your marketing dollars. So marketers started in this space in a more defense mode. And what has happened is, over time, as technology's gotten better, knowledge has gotten better, now they're on the offense, and they can show what more marketing can do to bring in dollars. I even had the head of sales, actually, at Time Warner Cable, after we did a marketing presentation, say, do I even need my salespeople? Because this, you're doing so much on the front end, and 60% of the sale has happened on the from a digital standpoint before we even talk to the customer. So it's very important to from that standpoint to really understand what the process is in your own business, what your sales cycle is, and look at it from the customer and the outside in, which is critically important. And so what we're doing is just that. I mean, we're a digital firm. We look at the consumer journey from inception to sale, and what that allows us to do is really tell the story of what is the buyer's behavior and what are they doing. And then our customers can use that to not only, spend better, and we'll help them spend their advertising dollars better, but they can also take that information and look at it and say, how would that apply to some of the other tactics I've got in my pie chart of marketing spend? Because it may include still, believe it or not, direct mail or, television advertising or all the other components.
Which perform well.
And it's, it's not.
If you can measure the performance.
If you can measure it. And if you can say that this is the value, then it goes beyond defending your budget. It goes to where you can be smarter about how to get more top-line revenue quicker.
Well, and it goes to that old Wanamaker quote, half the money you spend on marketing or on advertising is wasted. The problem is you just don't know which half. A CMO today can't say not sure.
Right.
Not sure where that's wasted. That's just a voodoo bad phrase to give a board or a CEO anymore. So then talk a little bit about the challenges that CMOs have today in this space. I mean, you're a woman CMO. You see more females. GM, I think, just put in their first females. They've got their first CFO and their first general manager, which is amazing, or first CEO and CFO. But talk about how women are kind of coming up as chief marketing officers and how you see that sort of playing out today.
Well, it's interesting because you look at, the Mad Men era.
Exactly.
Which was exactly that. Men. And I think, one of the things as a woman, actually early on in my career back at AT&T, my general manager, who was a wonderful African-American man, said to me in no uncertain terms that you can be successful and still wear pearls. And
wow.
I think, so I translate that into meaning you don't have to change and be like anybody else to be successful. And it's almost like it was a permission given to me and in my 20s. So now, it's all natural. And so from that point forward, I never really thought about, being a woman in business. I was a businesswoman. And there is a difference. And so I have not maybe had the struggles because I think I took a different approach and tried to put myself into a place where I was part of a bigger consortium of people that are making a decision, and my diversity and my difference and the way I looked at things was actually an advantage. And most companies know that now. There's many, many studies that show that, a diversified board, a diversified leadership team is going to get you much further than a bunch of people that think the same way, no matter what they look like or no matter who they are. So I think that's, there are struggles, and of course I am sympathetic to many of those things. And I think it's a challenge for everyone. I just think you have to really understand what your strengths are and then focus on that and make that what you bring to the table and what you bring to the job every day.
So when you think about it from a technology and performance marketing company, what is your own toughest struggle in marketing today? Is it holistically the brand? Is it partnerships with other groups you work with? Is it using your brand to attract the right kind of talent? What is it that you struggle with that seems sort of as a common theme, not necessarily you,
right,
but you see a lot of people struggle with today?
I think, for us, we have a smaller brand, so, we're more of a boutique agency, and we're also struggling. We have a little bit of identity crisis because really it's the technology that's driving a lot of what we're doing. And then there's the agency surround piece of it, sort of the expertise and the subject matter experts, and the softness is on the outside. So that makes it a little bit challenging because people don't know who you are. And then, as you know, we were recently backed by Blackstone Private Equity, which took a lot of that, kind of wonder who they are away. And so that was a nice thing to
nice
have
little
happen.
Brand booster. Yeah.
Nice little boost. And so that makes it a little bit easier. But I think, one of the things is really the workplace itself, and trying to continue to define just excellence in the workplace, no matter what the brand is, big or small. I mean, it all starts with your employees, and if your employees are not engaged and, thinking about everything from the customer's perspective and really putting that first, top of mind, you're going to have a problem. And we've been lucky that people here get it. From the CEO on down drives the fact that the customer is king, and, let's live that way every day. So I think no matter what brand size you have, if you can get in that mindset, you're going to be successful. It may come and go, but you're definitely going to be successful.
When you came into this role, was there a group of a department that you work with more closely today than you necessarily thought you were going to work with? What were some of the more prevalent things that you spend your time on day to day?
I think probably the place that I wanted to spend my time, and so I kind of created it. So this may be twisting the question a little
Sure.
bit, but there was no real cross communications team, cross company communications team, and so when I got here a year ago, we launched our 2020 vision with all our vision, missions, values, and kind of reset ourselves. And this was right after the Blackstone backing. And that gave me kind of a permission to go out and recruit people across the company to be a part of this communications team, which we named V20. And that team gets together every 2 weeks to talk about what's going on in the office. What do we need to be doing for customers? How can we, motivate people to do more? What are we doing for the, Thirsty Thursday? Just anything that, could be something big or something very small. We have our 10th anniversary coming up. So things like that they're working on. And it gets, input from all different people, from quality assurance people to salespeople to, the CFO to, whomever we've recruited.
So talk a little bit about something I know you're excited about, the CMO Club.
Yes.
Talk about what that is, what the value of it is, and the types of CMOs and marketing leaders that come to that event.
So the CMO Club, which was established also about 10 years ago, is a group of about 850 senior level marketers. Part of the profile is you need to report to an officer of the company. And it's global to the extent that we're in London and in Kiev and in Poland. We have chapters, and then we have about 26 chapters in the U.S. and kind of NFL cities, if you will. And each of those chapters, the basis of it is the peers get together for a roundtable discussion and dinner. Sometimes it's a formal speaker, sometimes it's just a topic that we're vetting. And it's continuing education, but you're getting it from your peers and maybe an expert that's in the room. And we do that, monthly, every 6 to 9 weeks, something like that. And then we have events. There's actually 3 major events during the year. There's an East Coast Summit where about 170 CMOs attend, and a West Coast Summit, and then a London Summit. And the value is pretty amazing because, again, everybody's over themselves because they're all pretty much they've done the same thing. They've been through the similar issues. The conversations are surprisingly, it's part therapy and part learning, but it's surprisingly or not surprisingly a lot of the same issues regardless of industry. And we have we say what we say here stays here. And that's it. You can't talk about it with anyone else that's outside of the membership. And we also have an online application that you can use. So you can, for instance, you can put in a message to the membership and say, has anyone heard of this vendor? I'm about to sign up with them, or I'm considering them for something. So we have vendor recommendations. We have a job area for people that are looking for, junior people or whatever. It's very powerful. And I've been an active part of it. I'm the president of the New York chapter. I've been an active part for, the last 8 years.
Because part marketing, part support group, part fight club.
Yes, exactly.
So I remember reading about this not that long ago about how you had posed a question to other CMOs. And if you think about it, especially from a technology company's perspective, if you asked a question that was, would people trade privacy versus convenience?
Yes.
And if you could talk a little bit about what you saw as a response to that question and where you see that in the marketplace today.
Yeah, we actually, it was at one of the CMO Club roundtable discussions, and I actually posed it as we go around and we introduce ourselves, and usually we add something on that, like what's your favorite app right now, or what's your favorite book, and I said, what would you pick in your personal life, privacy versus convenience when it came to technology?
By the way, did this come up as a specific question due to GDPR? Just as a general?
It was around that same time, but it was in general. It was sort of the Facebook issue that brought it up or that spurred it on. And without fail, almost everyone chose privacy, except I think 6 of us, which was an interesting combination of 6, but one of the people from SAP, there were some banking people there, said, no, they would pick privacy. But most everyone said, look, I'd be willing to give out my social security number if I could have my paper towels delivered to my home. It's really, important to me to have that level of convenience. And then I said, okay, now switch it. And now you're at work. What would your response be? And everyone said, well, of course, it'd be the opposite, almost. And I said, but isn't that an interesting thought when our personal lives and work lives are converging at such a fast pace that there almost, is not a line of delineation, and especially with your devices and technology and that kind of thing. So what's that going to look like in the future? So we had a pretty lively conversation about it, but it was, without question, I think most people, once you've gotten them to a certain level of understanding, once you've made it convenient for them to make a purchase or convenient for them to find out information, they want to stick with that. And they're willing to give up privacy to do it. And I think what I was trying to do in the discussion as well is shift it, because there's been a lot of negative around privacy versus positive about knowing who you're selling to. And when you're talking about digital matchmaking in the sense that we do, and I don't mean dating, but really getting the buyer to what they need in a better manner with a better experience, I think that's a positive. And for me to not have to muddle through a lot of things that I won't ever purchase to get to the to get to what I really need, that's a very positive thing. So I was trying to change the tone of this discussion as well, that it's not always a bad thing.
Yeah, I worked for a big data company that, a roundabout joke that we used to make is people shouldn't be scared of the NSA. They should be scared of big data companies,
Yeah.
which is true because people are scared to death to give any kind of power or knowledge to a government agency, but they don't realize how much they give to Facebook and to Google all day long. Mm-hmm. But most people would easily trade that for the convenience of just not, showing something that's relevant to them today.
Yeah.
So, well, Stephanie, thank you very much for being on A Shark's Perspective. Please tell us how they get in touch with you and with the company.
Yes, you can reach me or follow me at SSA CMO. And you can reach us as a company at World Wide Web AImediagroup.com.
Perfect. Thank you again for being on A Shark's Perspective.
Thank you.
So there was my conversation with Stephanie Anderson, the New York City chapter president of the CMO Club and the chief marketing and strategy officer of AI Media Group. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with her. First, whether your industry is tech or any other, CMOs should not get caught in the capabilities and yet forget the outcomes. At the end of the day, how does it affect the customer? Second, thankfully, the role of the CMO is becoming more diverse, and we continue to see more outstanding females ascend into these and other C-level roles. Third, attribution again goes back to the John Wanamaker quote, "I know half the money I spend on advertising is wasted, but I can never find out which half." A CMO today cannot say that they are not sure of where their ad spend is performing. After all, we have the technology. You've got to understand the consumer journey from inception to sale in order to understand buyer behavior and in order to better spend your advertising dollars, because that also applies to your entire marketing mix. Got a question? Please feel free to find me on LinkedIn or send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this show regarding another one of the many components that makes up marketing today. So go be presidential in your own digital transformation and join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.